Okay, I think we're good. OBS had auto-selected a server that was not great for this connection. Hello, ZapDeck, how you doing? So I think the stream is stable now. From the numbers I'm seeing over here, it looks good. I'm not dropping any frames. Nothing is overloaded, so I think we're okay. So hey, let's go from here. So, as I was saying before I was so rudely interrupted by the internet, the intention of these streams is going to be for me to just do what I do every day, which is build puppets. And there's just a bunch of cameras doing it. So these are going to be very like hanging out, chill, just that's why I got the chill lo-fi beats happening. I actually have the chill lo-fi beats happening because I think we need some music. Hey, Dorak, how you doing? But of course, DCMA is a thing. So I can't have any of the music that I would normally listen to. So I've got that Twitch, I can't even remember what it's called, the official like music streaming service, Twitch soundtrack. This is probably the least annoying, station. It's the chill lo-fi beats that all the kids like. So I guess we'll do this. It reminds me a little bit of, I used to work in a bookstore. A very large bookstore chain here in Canada, whose name I will not mention for fear of legal reprisals, but rhymes with Schmindigo. And this is the kind of music we always had in the store. It's this very just generic, almost vapid, it doesn't distract you from focusing on your purchases. So hopefully this won't distract me from focusing on building the puppets. So what I was doing, oh, thank you, Nightbot. I forgot I even had that. I forgot I even did that. Maybe not divine intervention, but certainly in traditional mythologies, there's usually like a divine being and then there's a creator, right? There's like the demiurge. So that's what I am. I'm the guy, I'm the contractor for, I don't make the puppets are made through me. I don't know. Anyway, so let me take you through some of the camera setup that I've got going on here, because I've been working on this for a while. If you follow me on Twitter, which you should, you know that I've been talking about this for a long time. So here's the setup. So we've got this camera angle. Thank you, Dorak. Hashtag the creator. This camera is the one that's going to be obviously on me when I'm just sitting back and doing stuff. And we're probably going to be in this shot a fair amount because a lot of puppet building, you'll be surprised to learn, is just sitting here sewing stuff. So I'm going to be just sitting here sewing stuff a lot. If that gets too boring, I may do that stuff off camera and we'll only stream the more interesting sort of construction stuff, but we'll see. Like I said, it's supposed to be chill. We're just hanging out. So we'll see how that goes. So we got this camera angle. And of course, this also shows my work surface here. So in case I need to, go over and do something, you can see it. We've also got this. Now, the cool part about this is, check this out, the camera. This is that new NVIDIA broadcast plugin. The camera will actually track me. And that's good because when I'm building, I'm moving around a whole bunch. So yeah, I know. People watch all kinds of things. Well, this is the thing that I watch some of the the makers and crafting channels. I do the voices, Zap, that's true. And in fact, you're going to hear them come out because occasionally when I get frustrated or overwhelmed by something, the characters will help me. So sometimes I got to do, Frankie will come out and just say, just relax. Look, we're just here. We're on the internet. We're doing stuff. You never know. It's just, you take it easy and we're going to build the puppets. And then when I'm being a real smartass, the oracle will bring us some wisdom from beyond. But yes, Dorak, interest in this, and I personally got mine, Luna's. Luna Puppets is fantastic. In fact, Luna built Frankie and Gus from the show. If you've been watching the Always On channel, you know who they are. Yes, yeah, Zep, I do the voices. You'll hear them. But one of the things that I'm going to be building on these streams, I'm actually going to redesign and rebuild both Frankie and the Oracle for some new episodes that I got hopefully brewing in here. And I want, see, the way I did the Oracle, Gus goes first. Now, that was Gary. Gary goes first. Gary is from a company called Puppets, Pubbets, who's run by James Marshall. Fantastic. They're like a charity-driven thing, so look into that. But for the new Oracle shows, I want to have all of the puppets built by me, because when I started the Oracle, it was before I got into seriously building. So most of the characters in the Oracle aren't built by me. And I want to change that. I'd like, I want to bring it more personal. So I'm going to be redesigning and rebuilding. Nightbot, don't be like that. I don't know. I'm going to turn off Nightbot if it keeps getting like this, because that's not cool. 6 messages were deleted. Dorak. Nightbot, I'm telling you, let Dorak go. Sorry about that, Dorak. I hope Nightbot isn't going to get too annoying. I'll turn off Nightbot if that becomes an issue. Anyway, where was I? Oh yes, I'm going to be rebuilding Frankie and the Oracle, and I'm going to do that on these streams. So yeah. But Luna's Puppets, this is what we were getting at. Luna's Puppets is another, Kevin Gorby is the guy who runs Luna's Puppets. And he's a fantastic builder. One of the things about it, though, is because Kevin Gorby's main focus is on a lot of the animatronic stuff he does, and they are amazing animatronics makers. But all of his puppets are kind of scaled to fit the animatronic stuff that he does. And so because of that, they tend to be very big and kind of heavy. And I'm sure, Dorak, you experienced this. It's tough to operate a puppet like that for long periods of time. So one of the things I'm doing with the redesigns is Frankie is going to be like half the size and much lighter. He's still going to have the eyebrow mechs and everything. So we'll get into how all of that works. But that's something I'm going to be building live on the stream here. So anyway, I was going through the different camera angles. So here we go. This is my main work surface area. And this is, I think, we'll stay in this when when I'm doing stuff that requires a lot of close-up stuff, but I'm not sure how useful this is going to be because most of the stuff is like up off the table. So we'll see. We'll go to this when we need to. We also have the flip of this, which is we have the top-down camera here. This will probably be more useful. I'll be sticking with this view, I think, a fair amount. And then we also have, for the times when I have to like get up and do something off the table, like if I'm drawing a pattern or if I'm using the sewing machine or something. How about this? This is way up in the corner, but this is the only camera that I could get far enough away. I mean, that's literally one corner of the room and that's the other corner. I could almost touch both walls of the studio. With that, but yeah, no, his animatronics are fantastic, but like I said, it's too big for my purposes. But definitely Luna's Puppets is a fantastic builder. One of the first that I found when I started building my collection. The thing about Luna's Puppets, though, is every time you see a Luna's Puppets, once you know them, you can tell that, that one's a Luna's, right? So anyway, there's Jimmy. You can see the shop cat, Jimmy, down here. He's probably going to be a frequent guest, whether I like it or not. Sometimes I won't. Sometimes he gets up on the work table, which is bad for when you're doing things like gluing. You don't want to glue a cat to anything. That would be a bad idea. Let's see if we can get Jimmy up here. Actually, hang on. You want to be an internet star, Jimmy? Oh, he's not small. There we go. Here you go. He's a little camera shy. We have 2 cats. We have Jimmy and Dax. Dax is very shy. He says as Dax walks in the door, "Hi, Dax." No, not. Okay. Never mind. Sometimes I will actually have to close the door because I work with some pretty noxious chemicals, and I actually put weather stripping around the door of the studio so that way I can close the door because my wife is working from home now. Obviously, we don't want these awful smells of, like, for example, this stuff. This is barge contact cement. This is what most puppets are made with, or at least some other contact cement that is a similar strength to this. This is the good stuff. This is the stuff that will, like, this is used to glue shoes together. So it's got to be strong. It's also toxic and has noxious fumes and things. So you need to use this in a well-ventilated space, which thankfully this is. But I also don't want that smell leaking out into the rest of the apartment. So I have weather stripping around the door and I have to close the door every time I use this stuff. We'll get to that. And yes, very hard on the wrist for long, but yeah. That's one of the things that people who build puppets but don't also perform puppets sometimes don't think about is the comfort level of the puppet itself is really important. Because if you're going to be operating this thing for hours on end, it needs to be comfortable, it needs to be light, it needs to be all these things that it can look great on the outside, but if it doesn't feel good on the inside, then that's a problem. And that's one of the things that I try and focus on is both the internals and the external images. So anyway, we might as well get on with things. Oh yes, there's one final camera angle I've got over here, which is if we want to actually perform puppets, I can do this. It's Frankie naked. You never thought you'd see this before, huh? Yeah, I'm gonna go away now. Naked puppetry. There we go. Okay, let's get on with it, Kevin. So, as I was showing before the stream died and came back, this is the sort of thing, in terms of service violation, naked puppets. Honestly, there's not much to see. I don't know why anyone's worried about that. So here is the kind of guy we're going to be building over the course of the next couple days. This is more than a one-day build, but a lot of it's one day. So this is a Smol. This is one of the models that I sell on my Etsy shop, and they're very cute and small. Being cute and small are two things that I do. So the nice thing about these guys is they are small, and because of that, they're very light and easy to operate. The arms are not rotted, and I designed them this way specifically because you have this sort of residual motion just as they turn, the arm kind of flop around, and it's very cute. And that's real nice to perform, and it's really easy for a performer to get these. You can even put like one on each arm and do two. So this is the kind of thing we're building for the first stream. So step one, you'll have to forgive me. I will be getting up and walking around quite a bit because here, maybe we'll do this. The camera will sort of track me a little bit, at least. But I gotta go over and get my patterns. Here we go. This is the sacred documents. This is the pattern for the Smol. I spent months developing this. There were at least 4 fully built iterations before I got to the one that we finally oh yeah, I know. It'll track up to a certain degree, and then it won't. So yeah, I spent a long time developing these guys. There were a whole bunch of prototypes that were made before I finally arrived at the final build. But there we go. So the first thing we're gonna need is this. This is the basic body of the Smol. This is going to be made out of half-inch foam. I use upholstery foam for most of my consumer grade puppets because it's nice and soft and it feels good. If I was building this for TV or film or theater production, I would use reticulated foam for a bunch of different reasons. We'll get into foams and all the different foam types later, but for most of my this is the stuff I'm going to sell in the Etsy shop, I use upholstery foam because it's cheap, it's easy to get, and it feels nice. It doesn't last as long as reticulated foam, so in a couple of years it will start to break down, but That's a couple of years, you know? And that's also like, chances are somebody who's buying this as just like part of their collection or as a hobby or something isn't going to be like really intensely using the puppet every day. So the more you use something, the more worn out it's going to get. And that's one of the facts of puppets that people don't really think about when they start buying them, is that if you're going to use this thing a lot, I mean, it's a physical object made out of soft materials. It's going to wear out. Things are going to break. And to know that is important, because it means that you will be prepared for when that happens. So any professional puppet builder will tell you, like, yeah, you kind of build with the knowledge that there's going to be failure points, there's going to be weak points, there's going to be points where stuff rubs against other stuff and it's going to eventually wear out. You know that ahead of time. Puppets aren't forever. Puppets always have to be repaired and rebuilt. So that's something to think about as you get into puppet building, is like, where can I make this better? Or how can I compensate in the design for those weak spots? One of the nice things about the Smol is there really aren't any major weak points. And that's one of the things, like if I was going to buy a puppet from me for a child, this would probably be a good one, because A, the size is good, and B, it's very rugged. It's sort of a unibody kind of thing. And so there's not a lot to break on this design. Something like the Greeblies, which you've probably seen before, but let me pull one down for you. These are my other kind of major models that I sell on the shop. These guys, Nightbot is aggressive. I might be turning Nightbot off. These guys, the Greeblies. There's some stuff that can break on here. For example, like these eyes, the way the eyes are attached. There's a back plate and there's two screws that come up here, and then these eyes, I inject some glue into these are just ping pong balls, and I inject some glue into them, and then the glue pools and it kind of gathers and sets around the screws. But there are just, screws and glue in here. So if you take one of these eyes and really haul on it, you're going to break it. And so I wouldn't necessarily give something like this to a kid, because who knows, they're going to like bash it around, and these can break. Smols, on the other hand, I suppose if you were to you could pull it apart in half, you really, really wanted to cause some havoc, but they're much more rugged. So that's one of the reasons why it's a nice design in general. Oh, thank you, Dorak. Dorak is hosting. A little bling there. I have the Streamlabs alerts hooked up. They maybe get annoying. I don't know. It depends. It's nice to be able to see when stuff happens, though. Okay, so first thing we need to do is cut 2 of these out, as you can see, ×2, with 1/2 inch foam. Now, like I said, these streams are going to be just me doing the stuff I do every day. So it's going to be inconvenient camera angles for a bit. How's that camera tracking? Let's pull this up here, because I got to stand up for this bit. So, all right, we'll put these aside because I don't need them. We have the chill lo-fi beats still going. We do. I can see it on the meter. All right. Let's move this stuff out of the way. This is the box of thread. This is very important, always around. I got to keep the mouse close to hand, but I guess I don't need it on the table. Move it over here. Okay, so here we go. We got this. This is a big roll of 1/2 inch upholstery foam. I got this from a Fabricville, which is, if you're in Canada, which I am, there's a store called Fabricland, which is like our big fabric retailer. This is their online shop, Fabricville, and it's not terribly expensive. It's still, enough that you got to think about it. But I get this stuff in bulk. As a matter of fact, I just got, let me see if I can show this. Here we go on the wide cam. This just came in the other day. There's some foam. That's a big bag foam. There's a ½ inch, mostly ½ inch and some inch thick, because I use inch thick for some of the bigger furry monsters, like what Frankie's gonna be. Forgive me, I'm not paying close attention to chat while I'm doing this, but this is actually a pretty good angle for this, I think, huh? You get to see my robust physique in my WWOZ t-shirt. New Orleans music, my favorite. Time for a quick beverage. Yeah, I do have chat right here, so I will be glancing about it occasionally, but you know, when you're building puppets, here, let's turn this off. There we go. You do have to focus. So, here we go. Trace these out with Sharpies. So this is real simple. Got to be as precise as possible, but you don't have to be like obsessively precise. Now also, I guess you can't see it in this shot. I'll get it down in a second. I have some of the early prototypes of this particular model, and they look quite a bit different than the finished product. But I think sometimes it's fun to see that kind of process. So there we go. Now, the important thing here, what does this look like? Do this. Oh, that's pretty good, actually. Is that we want to flip it. That's not really important in this case, except that one thing you got to be aware of when you're tracing out patterns is these pen marks. You're not going to get these off completely. You're probably going to have some, even when you trim the foam, you're going to have some. So the fleece, for example, this stuff that puppets are covered with, if you're covering with fleece or fur. Fur is not an issue in this case, but if you're going to cover it with fleece, as we are in this case, this fleece, this is nylon fleece. It's a little bit transparent. You can't really tell that in the camera, but let me see if we can. No, probably not. It's a little bit transparent, particularly when you're stretching it over foam. And if you have pen marks, like these Sharpie marks on the outside of the puppet, they can show through the fleece. So what you want to do is when you build the foam structure, you want to have all your pen marks on the inside so they're not facing out. So that's why we do it like this, and then we flip the pattern, because we're going to make sure then that when we put this together that all the pen marks are on the inside. Now, here comes the first dangerous thing. How do we cut these out? I hear you ask. I'll show you. Shell beats. All right, here we go. Not 100% perfect, but it doesn't need to be. Just got to get it close enough. I suppose some of us might use a chainsaw. I'm not sure that would go well, although it would be very entertaining on the stream. What we use, can use an X-Acto knife. That would be fine. But even better, these are, get some out here. Great, I've lost them. Everything is going great. These are hair shaper razor blades. And there's a brand that you can get in the States called Persona. Those are the preferred blades for puppet making or for foam carving in general. These aren't Persona because Persona is monstrously expensive to get in Canada where I am. So these are, I don't even remember what brand these are. These are some other brand that aren't Persona. They're still extremely sharp. Let me show you what I do. Once this cardboard coating is off, here we go. It looks scary because it is scary. So one of the things, I'm like paranoid about cutting myself, so I go very slow, very careful, very mindful of being in the moment of what I'm doing at that exact moment with the thing in my hand. I also, when I'm not using the blade, this is just a container from some super glue. The blade goes in there with the cap on. Yeah, slow is better than losing fingers, no question. So I mean, because these blades are good for a little while, although once I'm finished carving this foam, this blade will probably be done. Nothing will dull a razor blade quicker than cutting foam. At any rate, don't want to have a loose blade rattling around on my work surface, so I put it in one of these. That way, if it gets knocked over or something, it's not a loose blade flying around, particularly because we have cats, and cats don't know about that kind of thing. So there we go. So we're going to start carving. I think the first thing I'm going to do is just carve this out of the big sheet. As you can see, this just glides right through it like it isn't even there. And that's what we want. But there we go. We'll take that, and being mindful of where the blade is, putting it in the container because I want to put this foam back into storage, and by storage I mean the other corner of the room. But you know. Maybe we should put this up again. That's good. It's nice to see. Nice to see where we're starting and then where we're going to end up. That's a picture of the first Smol that I built. And that one sold pretty quickly. We're going to be building one that's very similar to that. I'm going to be building it in green again just because I happen to have a lot of green fleece. Where did I put the bungee cord? There it is. But we're going to be doing a couple different colors. We're going to do the interior of the mouth red and the hair a different color. Although green and purple is my single favorite color combination. I make a lot of puppets that are green and purple. I should make a purple one with green hair. I don't even have purple fleece. I don't think I do. Anyway. So now we're going to cut these out. 5 viewers? That's more than I ever got streaming board games. I used to stream board games. Okay. So, a couple things about carving foam, particularly with these hair shaper blades. Particularly as the blade gets worked, it gets dull. Move this camera down a little bit here. What inspired me to get into puppetry? Gosh, that's a long story. When I was a kid, and by kid I mean probably from about 6 years old on, I was born the same year that Sesame Street premiered. FYI, if you want to know how old I am. That, of course, I was just the right age for all that stuff to hit, and then the Muppets really exploded, and I was exactly the right age to be influenced by all that stuff. And so I fell in love with puppetry real early. And the first toy I can ever remember having was a puppet, and loved that thing. And so I've been practicing puppetry. Sorry, I just gotta look at Okay, this line here. I drew 2 lines. That's not good. So yeah, I've been, interested in puppetry itself and performing puppets since I was a real small kid. And then when I was about maybe 13, I started figuring out myself how to actually build them. This was, of course, before the internet existed. So I just kind of had to figure it out myself. Turns out I was doing it completely wrong, but that's true. It does give me something to talk about. But I did sort of get the foundations of it were that. And I would design and build puppets that were terrible, of course, but I was a kid. And then puberty happened. And suddenly dating seemed a lot more appealing. And nothing scared off the girls like, hey, would you like to see my puppets? So it kind of fell away. And of course, it's really, really difficult to build a career being a puppeteer. Those who do it professionally are A, fantastic, and B, have worked so hard to get where they are. It is not an easy job, and I don't care what anybody says, it's not easy. It is physically demanding. So, from about age 14 on, the whole puppet thing just kind of fell away. There's a whole story. If you go to my YouTube channel, I lay the story out about, look for the vlog that's about the Fraggle story. I'm not going to recount the whole story here because it's a long and involved story. But after the Fraggle story happened, I kind of forgot about puppets. And then 2 years ago, I was on a trip, weekend vacation with my wife and some friends to one of my favorite places in the world, New York City. And in New York City, which he has to say in a Frankie accent, we went to the Museum of the Moving Image, which has a permanent Jim Henson exhibit with lots of the original Muppets. And one of the things they had at the Museum of the Moving Image is this kiosk. I don't think they'll have it anymore because COVID, but there was this kiosk where there were a bunch of puppets and you could kind of try them on, and there was a monitor and a camera there, and you could sort of play as if they're the same process as shooting the Muppets, with the camera and the monitor and practicing like that. And I hadn't put on a puppet in years. And I wasn't even gonna. And then, one of my friends goaded me and said, come on, just do it. Because he knew that I was into puppets as a kid. And I put this delightful little puppet on. And all the neurons just lit up again. It was like being 14 again. And all of the instincts came back. And I did this little performance with this puppet, again, just 2 years ago. And it was like the next day, that was it. I was a junkie for puppets again. Suddenly, at age 50, it all just started happening again. So that's when I went, well, this is obviously what I should be doing. This is just part of who I am. There's no sense in denying it anymore. So that's when I started planning for the thing that became the Oracle. And from there, just over a year ago, I started building seriously. And now I've got the Etsy shop, and the Etsy shop is doing okay. I sell some puppets. And so now we're doing this. So it's a fairy tale, really. It's a feel-good story. We all could use some of them. So there's the quick rundown. If you go to the YouTube channel, I've actually got a couple of vlogs up there that lay out some more detail. about my puppetry journey. But there we go. So now we are done cutting foam. So the blade goes in the safety case. Safety case goes over there. So this stuff, oops. Oh, that's the other thing about fun than watching it live. You get to watch me make mistakes. Some of these chunks are really too small to do much with, so they'll just go out. Some of the bigger pieces, though, looks like a fallopian tube. They'll go in the scrap bag that I've got here. So here we've got the basic body of the Smol. So the next thing I'm going to do is make the mouth plate. The mouth plate for the Smol is kind of interesting. So I'm just going to put these over there, and I'm going to fish around in my pile of junk for some plastic. Oh wait, there's some. So this chunk, that's just a lid from a dollar store plastic bin. It's what I use for most of my mouth plates. If I'm making a regular sized puppet, something a bit bigger, I'll use plywood. But we'll get to that. That's one of the things. Frankie's going to have a plywood mouth. But this is just like a dollar store storage bin. This is just the lid. The nice thing about these is because they're sort of semi-transparent, it's nice when you mark these out, you can kind of see the marks from either side. This has been sanded a little bit. Small, useless pieces are good. Cat toys. Yeah. We have so many cat toys. You cannot walk through the living room. The cats own the apartment is basically what it is. I'm not, because I have to deal with like adhesives and things, I'm not crazy about giving the cats anything that comes out of the shop. So unfortunately, most of this scrap just goes in the garbage. However, this kind of stuff, like the plastic, you can upcycle stuff real easy for mouth plates and features and things like ice cream containers, milk jugs. There's all kinds of plastic that just end up being thrown out that if you can get like a little piece of plastic that's this flat off of it, like, shampoo bottles, you can upcycle a lot. And that's one of the good uses. I'd rather see it go in a puppet than in a landfill. So get pen, and we got to get our templates. Now, the interesting thing about the mouth plate for a Smol, there we go. Most puppets that you've probably seen use a very simple mouth. I mean, simple is good, but you use a mouth plate that's basically just two pieces like this, and it just opens like a hinge like this, right? There is a very phenomenal puppet builder named BJ Geyer, who you've probably heard of if you're into puppets. He does a course over on the Stan Winston School of Character Arts about puppet building. I know it costs some money. It is well worth it. Most people start out learning puppet building from Adam Krutinger. He is a fantastic puppet builder who has a YouTube channel that has like everything you need to know to start building puppets. Most people start there, and it is well worth your time. If you want to take that to the next level, then you do BJ Geyer's courses. And one of the things that BJ Geyer talks about is this form of mouth plate that they mostly use in his company. That is, I can show you it right here. It's built in 3 pieces. So there's a little, it's a double hinged thing. There's a little piece in the middle. And what that does, show you on a finished Smol, is it gives you a little bit, once you've got the puppet on, it gives you a little bit of movement back and forth like this. So you have like options about you're a little bit more flexible in how the mouth moves, and that's real nice. You can as a puppeteer, you can do stuff with that. Whereas if this was just two pieces joined at a hinge, it would only be able to open and close. But now we've got this sort of back and forth movement like that. So that's real nice. So that's how I build the small mouth plate. Some puppets don't need that. Some puppets aren't built like that, like the Greeblies, for example, are just a two-piece simple hinge. But for the Smols, this is real nice, and this pin is too thick. Let's do this. So that's what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay out the template, draw these out, and then cut it out. Another little BJ Geyer trick here is you see these notches to mark center lines. You always want your center lines. No matter what you're doing for a pattern, you always want to mark center. So the way that you get a true center from this is just cardstock, is you fold it in half and then you cut a little notch out of there. And then when you unfold it, you have these perfect center line marks. So you don't even have to take a ruler to it and try and measure it. This is more accurate than measuring it with a ruler. So accuracy can be important. So we're just going to trace these out. And of course, when you're drawing it, you mark the notch, you put your center line there, and then you just kind of draw, like fill in the triangle, and that will complete the profile, as it were. Here we go. Now I'm going to cut this out as a single piece and then cut it in three. So line up our center line. And you'll see on the pattern here, I guess maybe you can't see that, there's a little arrow. I always mark which way is up. You didn't consider there's all kinds of different ways to construct the interior of how a puppet works. One thing I did on my most recent Live Hands Furry Monster is I did it like this, but I didn't put a plastic piece in the middle. I just left it fabric. Cookie Monster is made like that. So it's very, very loose and very and you can do a lot with that as a puppeteer. You can, do all kinds of like funky mouth movements if your mouth plate is very flexible. Like Kermit. Kermit is actually made with gasket rubber instead of plastic for his mouth plate. So I was pointing out those arrows. This is just so I know, because this isn't perfectly symmetrical, I know that this is up. But yeah, mouth plate materials. That's one of the things that I'm going to be doing on stream. Is sometimes I'm going to be like just messing around and experimenting with stuff that I haven't done yet. I haven't had a chance to play with a lot of different materials for mouth plates, but I am playing around with some gasket rubber because I want to do like soft palette Kermit style mouth plates. But there are all kinds of complications that come with that. One of them being, it's tough to glue stuff to rubber, it turns out. Rubber resists glue. So then it's a matter of playing with different adhesives. But some streams are going to be just like experimenting and messing around and seeing how stuff goes. So now that I've got that, and you see because of the notches, I've got these sort of marks where center should be. So now I'm just going to join them all up. Let me know if my mic cuts out, by the way. So I'm wearing a wireless lav mic, and I might bend the wrong way and mess it up. So there we go. There is the mouth plate. Good so far, good. So I always make sure, because some of these template pieces can be quite small, put them back when I'm done with them. And now we're going to cut these out. These are just some heavy-duty shears. If you get into puppet building, you will amass, almost by osmosis, quite a scissor collection. They're all for different things, and you'll learn about them as time goes on. These are my heavy duty, I don't care what happens to them shears. I don't care if I get glue on them. I don't care if they're dull. It doesn't matter. These are the bulk beast shears, and they're good for doing things like cutting plastic. One of the principles I have found in this bin plastic is you gotta go slow. If you put too much pressure all at once, it will actually crack and shatter. Don't want that. That would be bad. So I'm going real slow. Very chill and gentle. This is the Bob Ross portion of the show. So there we go. There's the single mouth plate, and of course we got to now cut this into pieces. But before I do, always mark top, mid with the arrows pointing up so we know which way, and bottom. You might think you will remember. You won't. Trust me. At some point you'll go, now was that the top, the bottom? There we go. Chill beats. Feeling them chill beats. Be a little snips. Yep, that's what that is. So, remember I was talking before about minimizing the damage that wear and tear can do. This is a very good example of that. So I've just cut this plastic out. Nightbot, you're being aggressive again. I don't like it. I'm gonna tweak Nightbot for the next time, but I won't do that right now. I'll do that off camera. We'll just live with it for now. So I just cut these pieces of plastic with those heavy duty shears, and of course because of that these have some pretty sharp edges. Now over time, if these edges, I mean this is going to be glued against foam and fleece, that foam and fleece is going to be rubbing against it, and eventually over time that's going to cause damage, right? It's literally just going to cut right through the foam and the fleece, and you don't want that. So what I do is take a file and file down these edges. I'm going to do this over the garbage, so it's not going to look great on camera, but trust me, I am filing down these edges. This is actually a bit labor intensive. I have a bit of arthritis, which is one of the reasons why I don't puppeteer all that often anymore, because it's not great to have arthritis and try and puppeteer for long periods of time. But doing this, gripping this and filing it down aggravates my arthritis. So if you hear me scream in pain, it's fine. It's not that bad. But we're just filing down those edges so they're nice and smooth and rounded, and they're not going to create a cutting surface that the foam and the fleece are going to rub against. Hey, guess what notification I just got? My Xbox Series X is being shipped. Yay! So in terms of these streams and when I'm going to be streaming, I haven't put up a schedule yet, but I'm thinking Monday, Wednesday, and Friday are probably good. That leaves me days in between to do the boring stuff like hours of hand sewing off camera. But nothing is written in stone yet. We will see. We will see. But I got some viewers. Look at that. How you doing, everybody? That's real nice. And the other thing is, like, this is just what I do every day. Like, this is literally my only source of income right now is, welcome to the pandemic, kids. Get to making them puppets. But, so yeah, I do this every day anyway, so I might as well hit the stream button. Why not? This is also going to be fun because when I put the archives of this up, always looking at the wrong camera. When I'm putting the archives of this up, whoever buys this puppet will then go and watch the video of their puppet being built. And I think that's pretty cool. I like that a lot. Oh goodness, we got some real lounge music going here. Wow. Samples from Shirley Bassey. Okay. That. Now this is, yeah, the mic is picking that up. I've got the NVIDIA broadcast filter on the mic. I actually have a fan that's not quiet running, and it's being filtered completely out. The NVIDIA broadcast plug-in's pretty neat, I gotta say. That's the thing about a puppet shop. There's always a fan going. You do not want to be breathing in barge for long periods of time. Or any period of time, really. Okay, good. Yeah, sometimes you're going to hear stuff on the stream that isn't necessarily pleasant. One of the things is, so we live in an apartment building, and down on the first floor, just outside this window, is a daycare center. And they get very loud screaming children for hours and hours at a time. That may happen on stream, and I don't know if this mic is going to pick that up or not. So we'll learn together. How about that? The other thing I should mention is I am planning on some other streams that, if you've seen the YouTube channel, you've seen the Frankie Play stuff, where good old Frankie from the Oracle, I have an animated avatar similar to what Dorak uses. And Frankie will just live stream video games. We're going to be doing that every now and then. And I may even get some of my compatriot friends in on that so we can play off each other, and it'll be goofy and fun. As you can tell, I like being in character as Frankie. Frankie is much funnier than I am. So there we go. Now we've got all these edges filed down. The one thing I want to do before we continue, I actually should have done this before I cut them out, but hey. Live mistakes. That's the best kind of mistake. It's not really a mistake. What I like to do is mark out where the fabric mouth plate is going to go, and that gives me like a guide for building the internal straps. All I gotta do is find them. There we go. That is the fabric mouth plate. So that's the mouth lining that you see inside. That's what this is. And this is, of course, smaller than the rigid mouth plate, but it will provide a guide for where I put stuff. So all I'm doing is lining up those center lines. Should be as precise as I can make it, but it doesn't have to be to the molecule perfect. And we just want to mark out where roughly that thing is. So that seems a little off to me. I'm just going to correct that by eye. This is the thing, once you start, filing stuff and cutting, and there's always a couple of millimeters out, and things can change, shift around a little bit. So sometimes you do have to go in and just eyeball correct it. That should be good right there, though. So there we've got like our little guide about where is the internal versus the external. So, speaking of that, the way that the Smol measure once, cut twice, swear, measure again. Yes, precisely. The way that the mouth plates and the Smol work is most puppets have internal grips, which are like some kind of straps or something to kind of anchor the hand onto the puppet. So when you open and close, the puppet's jaws are anchored onto your hand, so you're not flopping around loose inside the head. The Smol, of course, being small, there's just a finger plate. So on the very top here, there'll be a finger plate or a finger strap here and a finger strap on the bottom. So they'll kind of be, and you puppeteer a Smol kind of like this. That's kind of what your hand's doing inside. So you just need a strap for the thumb and the middle finger. So we're going to set aside the piece for the middle at the moment, and we're going to mark out where the strap is going to go. And to do that, this is where we're going to start gluing soon, so I'm going to have to close the door and make sure the cats stay out and the fumes stay in. This is just some elastic. This is just some nice stretchy elastic. And about halfway is the right place for that. So of course I put the pen away. The irony of this music is I listen to mostly traditional jazz and blues, as you can tell from the New Orleans t-shirt. And a lot of that stuff is in the public domain, so I could probably put together a playlist that wouldn't get hit by the DCMA, but why risk it? So I'm just marking out the right width right now. We're not worrying about the length of the strap. We're just sort of marking where the strap is going to go. Do that for the bottom as well. We're going to be pulling out some power tools in a second, kids. It's a lot of fun. Okay, so there's where the strap is going to go. So I'm going to mark 2 dots on either side. Can you see that? Yeah, you can kind of see that. And we are going to drill some holes. There's a couple of ways you can make holes in plastic, or anything else for that matter. You can punch it, you can poke it, or you can drill it. The only thing that works really well on this plastic I have found is drilling it at a slow speed so it doesn't shatter. So that's where, these guys out of the way. I'm not sure what camera to use for this, but let me get set up and then we'll switch cameras. That's where this thing comes in handy. Clang, bash, crash. So you probably can't, well, you can kind of see it. This is a Dremel workstation. Nope, not great. Well, let me do the wide angle just so I can show it to you. So this is a Dremel. This is just a wireless cordless Dremel. And this little workstation thing here is fantastic. And one of the things it does is it can turn a Dremel into a mini drill press, which is super handy for doing this kind of thing. So the first thing I'm going to do, let me pull the battery because safety is important. I need to switch out the drill bit, slightly smaller one. We don't want these holes to be too big. Come on, grab that. Dremel's being weird, hang on. There we go. Okay. So I've got this on slow speed. Of course, I'm also getting the eye protection because safety. I guess we'll keep it on this angle for now. And we're just going to drill those holes. Battery goes back in. Dremel goes on. Wow, it's filtering out the sound of the Dremel. That's pretty good. Anyway, we're just going to slowly drill them holes. Of course, with any power tools, be mindful, be careful, go slow. Don't put your fingers in the way of anything spinning or sawing or anything like that. But you can see how handy this little Dremel drill press is. Now, if I was going to drill anything heavier, that would require more pressure. This stuff is like, you should bolt this down to the table. This is just free floating, but these are just light little things, so this isn't going to be a problem. But if you're drilling anything that you have to put some more pressure on, it could literally lift this thing off, and that would be bad. You don't want that. So don't do it. Anyway, there's our holes. Of course, the hook for my eye protection fell down, but we'll go back to this camera now and put this back. Bang, crash. You wouldn't believe, I've got millimeters to work with here. This is no space. This is like working on the International Space Station. I got inches, not feet. Important shop tool, a Swiffer. Because you are going to be putting fabrics and things you don't want to get marked up or gunked up. So always Swiffer your workstation. And I'm just cleaning off the flash. That's the little sort of bits of plastic that are left. That's a model making term, actually, the flash. Get a little pointy thing. Technical name for this. This is a double-ended awl that I'm just kind of cleaning off. You want to get even more in the models? Look, it's a sprue cutter. It's for cutting sprues. I think that's good enough. So, to put the straps on, first we're going to measure how big the strap should be. Did I put the pen back again? Of course I did. So, you want the strap just kind of loose. Let me see if I can show that on the camera. So I'm just lining up there. We just want it a little bit loose, just a little bit of a lump there. So I'm just going to kind of eyeball that. We know we've got this end anchored. So I'm going to push that in a little bit and then say, there's about good. And I'm just going to mark that. And I'm marking it on an angle to kind of conform with this line, because we want everything to sort of fit together. And so we know this goes with the bottom plate, so we're going to put that aside. And then we do the same thing on the top. And we don't want it to be too loose because this is elastic. It is going to stretch. Now, if I was doing finger grips like this for somebody specific, like I was making this puppet for someone that I had access to, I wouldn't make them out of elastic. I'd probably make them out of leather or ultra suede or something a little bit more sturdy. I'd make these out of elastic because these are for the shop and I don't know who's buying them. So elastic will allow, everyone's different, everyone has different sized body parts. So this will allow the most number of people to operate this puppet comfortably. But the absolute best is when you can custom make something for a specific person. However, that is not the case here. So we've got our straps cut. We know where they're going. I got to close the door because we're about to bust out the budge. 1 second. I have a draft excluder. Then I have to sort of shuffle into place and then seal the airlock. I've got some very cold coffee here too. Another pro tip for the shop, if you have a beverage, keep it away in a separate space from your workspace so you won't get like adhesives or bits of fur or anything else in it. That would be bad. I think this applicator is done. In fact, this applicator is glued to the top of the glue. Come on, there we go. We'll get another one. So these straps are going to be glued and stitched. Yeah, don't drink paint. Paint drinking, leave that to the experts. These straps are going to be glued and stitched. I'm going to glue them first and then stitch them because the glue will just hold them into place. The glue is actually kind of your backup system. Despite how strong this stuff is, over time, if you're putting pressure on it, it will kind of lift and work off. The stitching is what's going to really hold it in place. That's why we drilled the holes. But the glue is going to be there as your kind of backup plan. That will take some pressure off of the stitching. Now, unless I miss my guess, this can is going to be glued shut. Nope. Thing about contact cement, at least bars, is it can be reactivated by heat. Also, the tin is metal. The metal expands when heated. Let me introduce you to another very common puppet making shop tool, the hairdryer. This will probably get noisy, but let's find out. I'm going to hold this away from the work. So the other thing I learned real soon, when you do use a hairdryer, because you do use a hairdryer a lot to dry glue, hold it away from your work table, because if I were to do this, it would just blow everything off the table and then I'd have to go hunting for it. So I'm going to hold this off the table. In fact, you can't see that on camera. That's good. All right, now, remember how I couldn't open this before? Here we go. Beautiful. I should say a word about working with barge for safety reasons. Some puppet builders I know, who at least some of the people who are just starting out get real nervous about working with this stuff, and that's perfectly understandable. This stuff is toxic. It is noxious. The odor that comes off of this thing is unbelievably foul. And you do not want to breathe this stuff in for long periods of time. If you're going to work with barge or any other contact cement, but barge is one of the top ones, make sure you are in a well-ventilated space. I am in a well-ventilated space. I have an air vent directly above me that's bringing air in. I also have a fan in the window that is venting air out, and that's just right here. So I have constant airflow that's right here at the table. If you don't have that, or even if you do have that and you want an extra layer of protection, and we know everybody needs an extra layer of protection these days, wear one of these. Wear a respirator. I'm not going to wear a respirator right now. I don't really need it in this space, and it wouldn't be any good for the stream. So, but sometimes if I'm feeling particularly ooky that day or something, and I know I got to work with barge, I will put the respirator on. It's never a bad thing. There's no such thing as too much safety. Ask home of the safety salamander. But so that's the little safety spiel. You're going to hear that a lot. I'm going to say it often when I'm working with barge. But the other side of that coin is a lot of people are nervous to work with this stuff because it is so noxious. But of course, the alternative to this is like hot glue. I got a lot of problems with hot glue. Hot glue, isn't glue. It is, even in the industry, it's technically called hot melt. It's literally like a stick of plastic that you're melting. It's not an actual adhesive. And it will break easily. It is good for some things, and I'll show you, we will be using it occasionally, but it is not a replacement for barge. And so when you have to do things like when you're gluing foam together with hot melt, I have hurt myself. I have received notable injuries, much more from hot glue than I ever have had any ill effects from using barge. Don't be afraid of barge. Barge is your friend. Like any tool, you have to treat it with respect. You have to understand its parameters. But don't let that stop you. There is no replacement for contact cement. Contact cement is the best thing to use for puppet building. So be smart, but don't be afraid. That's my Yoda moment. Mm-hmm. Now, what we need to do here is paint on little bits of the glue on both surfaces. So the way contact cement works, if you don't know, I mean, you probably don't, because, only idiots like me know this stuff. Contact cement works by contact, as the name implies. So what you need to do is you have to put the contact cement on both surfaces that you're gluing together. And the other thing is you have to let it dry. You have to get it to the point where it's just a bit sticky. If you were to touch it, nothing would come off on your hand. It would just be a bit tacky. If you glue it when it's too wet, the glue won't stick together. That's the first mistake that a lot of people make when they're first using this stuff is A, they use too much, and B, they don't let it dry long enough. So we are going to use just enough, and we're going to hasten the drying process. It's not super great to use the hair dryer. It's probably better to let it air dry, but we don't have that kind of time. We're on a stream here. I'm not going to walk away for 10 minutes to let it dry. So these are what I've found for when you're trying to paint a little area. These are great. These are just little makeup applicators. Let me show the camera here. It's just a couple of bucks for a big bucket full. So they're disposable, and you can get a couple of uses out of them. But you can get like a good degree of precision. So an entire can for 2 small pieces of plastic is a bad idea. Yeah, good to know. Yeah, we are not going to be. I recently threw away an empty tin of barge I had been using for almost an entire year of puppet building. And that was not a small amount of puppet building either. That was what I started my shop with. This stuff will last a long time. It's a bit expensive, particularly here in Canada, but it's well worth it. So I'm just going to use a little makeup applicator. I'm going to paint on a little bit of glue around the areas where the holes are, and then on the ends of the straps. Here's another little tip. I wish this is one of the things that when you see somebody working who's worked before, you get all these little things that you would never have even thought of. And this is something I learned from watching BJ Geyer work. Most people, when they're working with barge and they want to have just a little bit of glue, because the brush that comes in this thing is this big gooey, you know, it's one of those acid brushes. It's hard to get a precise, you know, and a small amount. So some people will like take and pour a little pool of glue out and then take a brush and dip it in that. This is something that I watched BJ Geyer working, and all he does, and this is so simple, but I just never would have thought of it, is, you can see it in the other camera here. Let's do this. Lift it out and then just get some glue on your applicator like that. There, simple. But again, and this never would have occurred to me, but I saw somebody else do it, and now it's what I do. So I'm just going to paint a little bit of glue around the holes, just on the end, on both sides. This is the bottom. You got to remember this. We measured our straps individually. We also want to make sure we get the right ends because these are tapered. So it's this side. And I'm going to paint a little bit of glue on the strap ends. I'm also going to paint a little bit of glue along the edge, and that will help it, once the glue sets, that will help this fabric to not fray. You don't want that either. And I think I need a little bit more. So. Here we go. Just a little bit. You don't need, if you put so much on that it starts to, because this stuff is kind of yellow tinged, if you start to see it like it's a dark amber color, you've used too much. You just want a little, just a light glazing. And likewise over here. I think I used a little bit too much there. You don't want big pools of it. It's also hard to control, so sometimes you will get too much. It's just a matter of practice. And there we go. So that's all the glue that we need for the moment. We're going to keep the glue handy because we're going to be gluing those two foam pieces together and then gluing the mouse plate in. After I've done that, I think that will probably be the end of the stream. We're going to build the internals today, and then the skin, we'll see. The skin is a lot of hand sewing, but it would also probably be nice to see me cut it at least on stream. So I don't know, if you guys don't mind like just sitting hanging out with me while I hand sew for 2 hours, we'll see. That might be the next stream, but we'll see about that. Gonna take the hair dryer and dry this glue. Yeah, you can definitely hear that. And I'm also going to dry the glue on the straps. All right, so like I said, you don't want to dry it all the way, but you want it to be a little bit tacky. Now, the nice thing about contact cement, one of the many nice things about contact cement, is you have working time. This glue will be viable for quite a while. And as a matter of fact, the way I'm using the hair dryer, see, I've got this little blue switch here. This turns off the heating element, so I'm just blowing air. Because heat will reactivate the glue. So you can take a puppet that's already built, and if it's not too old, you can actually take a hair dryer with the heat on it up and down the seams of a contact cement join, and you can actually open that thing up again. And this is how on like TV sets, they'll do repairs on the fly by just opening up a puppet and doing a repair and then re-gluing it and closing it back together. It's really neat. puppets on sets are always in a delta state of completeness. They're always being fixed and repaired and constantly being modded. And, you know, if a puppet needs to hold a prop or something, they'll pin it and then they'll have to like bend the arm rod and do all kinds of funky things. Puppets are never finished. They're always in a kind of state of constant mid-repair. But anyway, so all I'm going to do now is, now that this glue is dry, I'm just going to take these and press them together. Contact cement works with pressure. So we got to pinch these. And there we go. That's pretty sturdy. I could actually leave it like this and it would probably be okay, but I like to, because these are for, you know, the shop and consumers are going to be buying these, I like to give a little bit more of a safety net so things won't be falling apart when a person buys the puppet. It is a nightmare that wakes me up thinking about selling a puppet and then somebody gets it and they break it and then they blame me. Hasn't happened yet, but it will. So there we go. Our straps are on. So this is the top. So this is going to go like this, and this is the bottom. So when you're operating the puppet, this is tough to show, it's going to go like that. So the next step is stitching. I'm just sure this glue is close or not. This glue has a solvent in it, and over time that solvent evaporates. So if you've got the lid open a little bit, that solvent's going to evaporate, and then you have to thin it out again with this stuff back here. If we can see it, there we go. This stuff here, this is barge thinner. Yeah, so I got a puppet, actually a bear track. I'm not a fan of it, but the hair is well made. Yeah, one day if somebody I don't like buys a puppet, that's what we'll do. You know what? He says with a growing sense of dread, I think I have misplaced the middle piece. Or maybe it fell off. Well, we're going to need that sometime soon, but we'll worry about that later. We can always cut another one. I put that off to the side for safekeeping, and of course now I've lost it. Live puppet building, everyone. Of course things are going to go wrong. Well, we may have to cut a new middle piece, but we'll see. I'm sure it's here somewhere. Anyway, the next stage. Yeah, no, it's fine. It's fine. I've got sheets of plastic down here that are like, I can cut another one. It's fine. I just don't know where I dropped that one. Oh, wait, here it is. I found it. Ha! Yay. Day is saved. So the next step is stitching these together. Stitching the straps. Focus. This is a fixed focus camera, so it's not going to autofocus. But we're going to stitch through the holes, these straps on. And I got to do that like this. So we're just going to keep it on this camera because we can just have a little chat. I know I'm out of focus when I get this close. Forgive me. Color thread does not matter here because it is internal. But I have a little footstool here. This is how I hand sew. I quite enjoy hand sewing. I know a lot of people don't. I'm a fan of it. I find it very relaxing. Mostly, it depends on what. Of course, when I'm sewing one of the big furry monsters, that can be a bit stressful because fur doesn't stretch, and it's very unforgiving, and it's tough to pin together, and fur is bad. Fur isn't really bad. Fur is fine. Fur also has a lot of advantages. You can hide a lot of mistakes with fur that you can't with fleece. But anyway. Well, the other thing about working with barge, I should point out, I'm just thinking of it now because I'm about to lick my fingers for the thread, is you at least at first, when you're getting used to the viscosity of it, which camera, this camera, you should wear gloves I know that gloves are hard to come by now because, of course, you want to save all the PPE for healthcare professionals, of course. Even like loose-fitting, crappy gloves that are like from, a package of hair dye or something. You don't want to get that stuff on your hands. If you do get it on your hands, and you will, if you're going to be building puppets, you can't just wash it off with soap and water. It's waterproof. It'll just stay there. What you have to do is you literally have to sand it off, and the best way, of course, is to get a nail brush and just kind of really scrub it off. But you will get, I've had barge on my hands so much that I'm used to it now. I know exactly what it feels like. I do not have any, I did not get any on my finger, so I can do this. So I can knot the thread properly, but definitely don't get any barge in your mouth. Like, don't lick your finger after you played with barge and have any on your hands. I know I don't. That's the only reason I could get away with that. All right, so we're just gonna, and we're only gonna run the thread through a few times, just to make sure it's well anchored. While we listen to the chill beats. I really should get a thimble. I don't actually have a thimble. Sometimes you got to put a little pressure on the needle. And I have a terrible habit of not changing my needle. So this is an old needle. I've built tons of puppets with this one needle. And it's probably getting some weak points in it now. So at some point, I'm going to be pushing on the needle, and the needle's going to break and go into my finger. And that would be bad. But hilarious if it happens on stream. All right, so there we go. I'll show this to a close-up camera in a second, or as close as I can get. How's the stream quality? Oh, it looks good. Okay. Let's see. Maybe this is a good camera to get, because this will autofocus. So there we go. It will autofocus, I said. There we go. There we go. So that's all we've done is just sewn that onto the existing holes. I'm just going to put this through and then tie it off. Yeah, I used to stream a bunch. Like I said before, I streamed board games for a while. So some of this camera equipment is like leftovers from when I used to stream board games. Some of it's new, though. I bought a new switcher, an ATEM Mini Pro, because most of the cameras I'm using right now are actual cameras. They're not webcams. I got 2 webcams. But this right now is a DSLR that we're looking at. And the Puppet Cam, the one that I showed you before, that one is Blackmagic 4K Pocket Cinema. That's the one I actually shoot the Oracle with. Speaking of which, there will be more. I know if you've watched the Always On stuff on this channel, you're probably going, well, we've seen everything. There will be more. On the YouTube channel, there is actually more than what is on the Twitch Always On playlist. But like I said before, I'm going to be redesigning and rebuilding Frankie and the Oracle, and that will be on stream. And that is specifically for new episodes of the Oracle. So that will be fun. Maestro, may I have some sewing music, please? Happy little stitches. Tie this off. There we go. I'll do one more for good luck. Okay. These are my scissors specifically for cutting thread. That's what these do. Occasionally I'll use them to snip something else, but it's good to compartmentalize when it comes to scissors. So anyway, so this is stitched on. Now this is super strong. This is not going to come off. So I would feel quite confident putting this in a commercial puppet. And now that thing we just did, we're going to do it again. Because it was so much fun the first time. We have been streaming for an hour and 6 minutes. Does that sound right? An hour and 31 minutes. Not bad. As you may or may not know, professionally made puppets, such as this, can get a bit pricey. People sometimes are a bit surprised when they first see how much some of these puppets cost. I try and keep my costs quite low. One of the reasons that I work so hard on prototypes is because I'm trying to come up with a prototype that I can build quickly and cheaply. But they can get very pricey. And one of the reasons, the main reason that they can be so expensive is because it's A, skilled labor, and B, is not quick. This is not a fast process. This takes hours and hours to build a good puppet. To build a really good puppet, like a professional, like for TV or movies or something, you can easily spend like 40 to 80 hours on a single puppet. So, a couple $100 is actually really reasonable for the labor that's gone into these things. Just gotta say a word for my fellow puppet builders out there. We work hard. Don't let anybody tell you we don't. There we go. But I guess there's also another thing that these streams are going to be good for is like people will actually be seeing what it takes to go from, from nothing to a finished puppet. It's not really that the materials are that expensive. They can be, but they're not super expensive. Most of the cost of the puppet is actually the labor hours that go into it. So. What we need is a puppet union. Actually, there are. I mean, it's part of the Motion Picture Academy or whatever that is, the SAG, I think. There's some like fabricators department of that or something. I don't know. I'm just an amateur, so what do I know? But yeah, a lot of the streams are going to be this. It's just going to be me sitting here sewing. Yeah, I think there are a few. But there's also like the Puppeteers of America. There's a guild, I think. I'm not sure where puppet builders fall into that. I think that's just for performers, but again, for anything for professional like TV and film and stuff like that, there's something, some kind of labor collective, which I am in favor of, FYI. Oh, I got a good knot. See, he mentions unionization and suddenly the thread knots. Wow, that is a pretty amazing knot. I don't think I can pull that out. Well, it's a good thing that was the first stitch because I gotta start over again. Ha! Sometimes things don't always work. You know what the problem is? Not enough coffee. At my Diablo 3 bug, yeah. Looking forward to Diablo 4. Although it is looking pretty edgelordy. I hate the marketing around Diablo 4. It's dark. Diablo gets dark again because the problem is it wasn't dark enough. I'm going to buy it and then going to return it, and the note's going to say not dark enough. I am also recording this locally so I can edit it together and put it up on the YouTube channel. So if, because Twitch only keeps the VODs around for, 2 weeks, something like that. And I want a permanent record of my public humiliation, so that will be going up on the YouTube channel. And that means that the YouTube channel will actually have some content for the first time in, 2-3 months? But one of the funny things is the reason that I'm even doing this in the first place, these streams. So I put up, at one point I realized, I've got season 1 of the Oracle was done, and I've got a, pretty substantial body of content here. It's kind of a shame to not use that. So that's when I had the idea of doing the Twitch always on, just looping a playlist of the Oracle season 1. And the idea was I can just kind of put it up and forget about it, right? It's just there. And when I started that, I had I think 35 followers on Twitch. Not many. It's so hard to break through and to actually get, any number of viewers. But I thought it was just get more eyeballs on the Oracle. I'm pretty proud of it. I enjoy it. So let's try and get more people to see it. So that was the idea behind the Always On channel. And then I really did just kind of forget about it for a while. And then I came back and looked at it once, and I had almost 100 Twitch followers all of a sudden. So it's like, oh, okay, I should, we have a raiding party. Good heavens. There are people raiding me. I've never had a raid before. Wow, look at that. Well, thank you, Laser Geek Creations. And White Wolf 1972. And Seskimo. And Lodamot. Good heavens. Good heavens. Look what's happening. I'm just sitting here hand sewing, getting Twitch followers. It turns out that's the secret. Ninja. Wow, thank you so much. So anyway, as I was just talking about, I suddenly had all these new followers on my Twitch channel. So I thought, wow, well, that's something I can't just ignore anymore. So, don't worry. I'm gonna be having a word with Nightbot. Nightbot is misbehaving. So don't worry. Maybe I should turn it off right now. It was so long ago that I set that up that I'm not even sure how to turn it off. So please bear with me. I will have Nightbot tamed by the next stream. So as I was saying, I suddenly had all these followers, and I thought I should actually do something with that. And the idea of doing these build streams seemed ideal because this is just what I do every day anyway. And it will keep me motivated and focused, because sometimes you can kind of go, well, I got enough store stock. I don't actually need to build today. But if I'm streaming the build, then it's something to focus on, right? So, wow, welcome everybody. Thank you. 37 viewers. There's 37 viewers right now. I've never had more than 4 continual viewers all at once. So, wow, thank you everybody. Welcome. I guess I should keep going then, huh? I was going to take a break, but wow. Goodness me. So, okay, you're here to see some puppets being built, so let's build some puppets. What I have done to catch everybody up is I have built the mouth plate. As you can see in the corner there, you notice how I was able to point to that immediately without going, that's because I'm a puppeteer. I'm trained to work with camera reverse angles. See, wrong. It goes very well, Laser Geek Creations. Thank you very much. Thanks to you, largely. So I have now built the basis of the mouth plate. Let's go to this camera. Okay, so here we go. We've got our mouth plate, 3 pieces with our straps. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to join all this together as a single piece. We're going to build the hinge, basically. So the way that I'm going to do that... so here we can get into some actual sort of theory about puppet building. There's a couple of ways that people put a mouth plate into the puppet. There's 2 main ways. The first way, and that's the way that most professional builders do it, is you actually finish the interior of the mouth plate. You basically finish the mouth plate completely, and then you kind of wrap the skin around and glue it in place. And that's the way that, like, the Muppets are made like that, mostly. Most professional puppets are made like that. It's very tricky to do. You need a high degree of precision. And I've never been able to master it. I've done it a few times and it's been okay. I just have to practice more at it. There's another way. And the other way is you actually take the fabric, make a fabric mouth plate that is the size of the interior of the mouth, and you stitch that into the skin that you're going to wrap around the foam. And you actually then glue that to the mouth plate. That's the way that I do my puppets. It's a little bit easier for me. Now, some people find it very difficult to do it that way. It does have its challenges, particularly if you're not a natural sewer. But as I've already established, I really like sewing, so it's not that much of a problem. But the first thing I got to do before we get there is to assemble the mouth plate and create the hinge, basically. And the way that we do that, if I was going to do fold and glue, I would actually put like whatever the interior surface of the mouth is going to be. So if it's going to be like, velvet or ultra suede or whatever, I would actually just glue that in there and that would create the hinge. But since I'm not doing it like that, we're going to use gaff tape. Gaff tape is really useful in puppet building. Some people will use duct tape. Duct tape isn't great to use inside puppets because of how it works and how the adhesive is, and because that it's got this glossy coating on it that will, somebody's hand inside that, creating heat and moisture, is going to lift that. This stuff, gaff tape, is not quite as susceptible to that. It is still a little bit, but it is fabric-based tape, which is great because it's fabric going into a puppet. So that's what you want. So what I'm going to do, this is going to be tough to show on camera. I'll try my best. Let's start with the top here. You'll notice this is where the labels come in handy, top. So we're going to glue the middle piece to the top piece, and this is the interior, right? So this is inside, this is the exterior. And we're going to glue it so the hinge goes like that. Or not glue it, tape it, I should say. So we want a piece of tape long enough to go the entire width. That should be good. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lay the tape across. So I'm actually going to use the strap mark as a guide. This is why the semi-transparent plastic is handy. Thank you, Stray Robotics, new follower. Did I miss somebody? Calamity Cat? It's like, hi, Woodworks? Wow. Wow. Golly. I'm a bit overwhelmed. I wasn't expecting this. But I'm going to marshal through and be focused. So there we go. We've got the tape on. Right? So this is the interior. This is the exterior. We've got it nice and flat. There's no wrinkles. And then we're going to lay on this middle piece, paying attention to where the arrows are going, of course. I'm going to line up the center line, and we're just going to very gently press that in place. And then do the same thing. I apologize if this is off camera, but I need to see it with the bottom. So there we go. There's going to be a bit of a bump where the stitches are. That's fine. We can live with that. You won't see that in the finished product anyway. So now we've got this tape hanging over the edge here. And this is where the giant scissor collection comes in handy. So we're going to use these. These are non-stick scissors. These are Fiskars, I think. Yes, these are titanium non-stick. So when you cut something that has adhesive on it, like glue or tape, it's not going to stick to the scissors and it's not going to gum up the scissors. So we're going to trim off our ends. Just like that. It will stick to your hand, however. Smart guy. When you're non-stick scissors. I could trim it a little bit better than that. But this is going to start to look like an actual usable thing in a second. Okay, so there we go. Now we want the hinge on the inside to be very flat, right? We don't want a big gap between them, but that's pretty good. That works pretty well. Let's see it from the side here. Okay. Now, we also want to do a layer of tape on the inside, but that we don't want to be flat. That we actually want to be at the kind of apex of the fold. And that we're going to do a little bit different. I'm going to take some tape and I'm actually going to rip thinner strips. And this again is going to be tough to catch on camera. But is my Canadian accent coming through every now and then? I'm sure. Just ask me to say something with an R in it. You know, talk like a Canadian for a little while. By the way, I'm sure there's some Americans watching at least. Congratulations. Sincerely, congratulations on getting rid of the orange idiot. So, before we get into too much politics, oh, see, the Scottish accents are amazing. I wish I could do. I can't do a good Scottish accent. I wish I could. My grandparents were off the boat from London. They came over after my grandfather got discharged from the army for blowing one of his fingers off because he was a gunner on a ship. And they introduced me to a lot of British comedy. And so I will slip into British colloquialisms occasionally because I spent a lot of time at my grandparents' place when I was little. So I'll say mate before I'll say friend, like just naturally. But I've never been able to do a Scottish. I can do a pretty good English accent, but I can't, like a British sort of Oxford accent, but I can't do a Scottish accent. I wish I could. It is among my favorite accents. I like voices. I don't know if you've noticed, but I like voices a lot. I think probably my New York accent is my favorite. That and a bit of Louisiana. Okay, so I don't know if you can tell on camera here. Maybe we can switch to this camera. So what I've done is I've actually put the tape while it was folded. So when you unfold it, it's got this like divot in it. And that's what you want. You want it to sort of have the tape sitting in the ridges when it's closed. Oh yeah, no, I know there's many Scottish accents. I can't do any of them. And that's the other thing about accents, right? It's like everybody, you know, it's stereotypes. Everybody's got these like, you know, these very broad stereotypes. And they don't realize that there's actually tons of variety out there that you don't even know about if you just stick to the ridiculous stereotypes. I ran into that when I was coming up with the voice for Frankie. Because I did this kind of generic sort of pan New York accent, and I realized I didn't really know because there's all kind of regional accents in New York. So I sat down one night and I kind of researched, like, what are the different regional accents around New York City, and which one am I doing when I do Frankie? And he's kind of a mix of Manhattan and a bit of Brooklyn, it turns out. But I didn't know that when I sat down and did the voice. So I was working from a point of view of a stereotype to begin with, which is bad. But hopefully everyone understands it's good-natured. There we go. So there is our internal hinge. And yeah, good. So here we go. Now, let me just put this on. That's the bottom. No, that's the top. Ha ha ha. See, I fooled myself. So this is how, down here, this is how the mouth plate is working now. So we've got it like that. And maybe we can go to the top cam and I can show you the sideways motion. This is why we do the 3 pieces, the double hinge, so the mouth can do that. But you can see we've just got it on the top, bottom fingers, and this is how your hand will sit inside the puppet, kind of like that. And we're just working the mouth like that. So it's very small, very shallow mouth plate, but it's a very small puppet. So this took a long time to get right, this mouth plate. This is why, like, you know, the templates are sacred because to reproduce this would be tricky to try and do it every time. So there we have our mouth plate. So next we're gonna get the foam pieces that we cut out earlier. It's like a cooking show, isn't it? And we're going to start gluing the body together. There's cat fur all over this place. Look at this. You'd think there was some cats around here or something. So, you will notice on these patterns there are 2 darts. There's a dart in the head, and there's a dart at the bottom. And these just get closed up, just like darts in fabric, but we're going to glue them together. So that means the glue we want, so this is the interior of the mouth here. We don't want to glue that. We don't want to glue the very bottom, obviously, because this is where the hole where your arm goes. So everything else we want to put glue around. So that's what I'm going to do. This time I am going to use the big brush from the tin. Once again, I'm going to say this every time just because it's a good practice to be in. If you're going to use contact cement, particularly barge, do it in a well-ventilated space, and preferably wear a respirator, unlike what I'm doing right now. I am in a well-ventilated space, though. So I am putting just a very light coat. See, it only changes the color a little bit, not a lot. Here we go. And forgive me, I'm not paying attention to chat for the moment because I'm having to focus on all this glue. I got a little too much glue inside that dart, but that's okay. We'll dry that up. It's hard to control inside a dart. One of the tricks for doing long, like lengths, is to fold and kind of half fold. So I'm just going around this rather than having to try and figure out how to hold that and go along the whole length like that. So let's just do that. So the first thing we're going to do is glue the 2 halves together. I think I might actually switch to the wide angle camera for that so you can sort of see the most. I don't think you'll be able to see much. I got to do it close to the chest, as it were, so I can keep an eye on it and control it. Now, if you want something to be really strong when you're doing the contact cement, it's not a bad idea to do 2 layers. Do like a layer, let that dry, and then do another layer. This, we don't have to worry about too much because the puppet skin goes around this, so it kind of holds it together. We just need it to stay together. We don't need this to be like sort of structurally super strong. This just has to go together and hold its shape. There we go. I know you can't really see this on camera, can you? Well, you just gotta live with it. And the interior, I just got a bunch of glue on my hands. That'll happen. All right, there's the interior of the dart. So that's done. I put that down and I'm going to grab the always handy roll of paper towels. Get a bit of this glue off my fingers. If you catch it before it gets real dry, you can kind of scrape it off. But, you know, it's contact cement. It's designed not to come off. So try not to do that in the first place, or don't do what I do and wear gloves, which I have tons of gloves over here. I should just put them on, but, you know, I'm being cavalier. Okay. $125 followers. What universe is this? It's never happened to me before. Thank you so much, everybody. So yeah, I actually in the time between me putting up the Always On channel and now, I actually qualified for a Twitch affiliate, which is hilarious. I'm not putting up the subscription thing yet. Like I'm gonna wait to see if I'm able to do these streams on a regular basis. If I am, I might put up subscriptions, but for right now, it wouldn't be fair to say, give me some money so I can keep doing this. But eventually, I mean, if I'm able to do these on a regular basis, which I think I will be, and if there's a demand for it, which is the other thing, it's like, if y'all are enjoying this, then please let me know. And it will be encouraging to do more, and I'll do it on a regular basis. And then I'll think about putting up the subscriptions. But I mean, quite a few times, you know, I've found a new streamer who I really like, and I subscribe to their channel, and it's all great, and then they don't stream for, you know, months. So it's like, I understand it's not an easy thing to do. I really understand that. But at the same time, it's kind of a, you know, it's a contract, right? Like I'm subscribing to you, and then your side of that is to stream, right? So I'm only going to put up subscriptions if I can tell I'm going to be able to stream on a regular basis. There we go. Okay. So lots of glue. So all of these edges are now have a layer of glue on them. And of course I got more glue on my fingers, so safety first. 2 hours. We're at the 2 hour mark, folks. Making puppets ain't quick. We're actually kind of rounding up to where we're going to end for the day. We're going to glue these together, and then we're going to glue the mouth plate in, and that'll be it for today. So the first thing I got to do is dry the glue. So forgive me if I turn away and... That's one. Just follow YouTube videos. Really cute. Thank you. Thank you. Yes, there will be more Oracle. In fact, as I said before, on the YouTube channel, there's a few more newer episodes of the Oracle than there are on the Always On channel on Twitch here. So enjoy those. And there will be more in the future. And I will be rebuilding Frankie and the Oracle on the channel, which is going to be very exciting. All right, we'll see if that's enough. I have a feeling it's not quite enough, but we'll see. So the first thing, where are we here? Let's see. I can move the glue off for a second. First thing we're going to do is close the darts. So as I talked about before, you'll notice that we want our pen marks to be on the inside so they don't show through when we cover this. So I'm going to make sure that I close the dart. Pinch that together because contact cement works with pressure. So there we go. There's the closed dart. See that? There. And we've got it closed so that we know that this is the inside. So likewise with this dart. I'm trying to keep this in camera as much as possible, but I do have to see it. Otherwise, it's going to be sloppy, and no one wants to buy a sloppy puppet. There we go. So there is one with the closed darts, and you can see that it's, you know, it's on 3D. So I'll do the same thing with the other one. Close the darts first. Well, true. People who look for sloppy puppets, but you know what? If you're looking for sloppy puppets, you're looking in the wrong place, pal. Nightbot, we're going to have serious words. The Oracle is not pleased. Okay, so there we go. All the darts are closed. We've got these two halves. So now this gets kind of tricky. I don't even know if maybe we'll... Yeah, the Twitch soundtrack thing is okay. It's like I was saying earlier, it's better than me trying to compile a playlist of what I hope is DCMA safe music. The kids love the chill beats. Yeah, we'll see, Zep. I gotta tweak the Nightbot thing. It's because no one's chatting during the Always On channel, right? So, you know, this is probably the best camera angle to do this by. You're not going to see the close-up detail, but at least you'll get a good broad picture. So we're going to join the two halves now. I'm going to start with the top jaw. See, you can kind of see it. I wish there was more music too, believe me. I wish I could play the music that I usually play when I'm puppet building, but curse the man. Yeah, that's the thing about the Twitch soundtrack thing is it's safe, right? Like you're not gonna have your VODs ruined by being muted. Another thing I'm gonna do, I haven't quite got around to it yet, is I'm gonna put like the closed caption plugin on the channel, because it would just be nice to be able to, people who are who need closed captions will be able to still enjoy the channel. That is coming in the future. So I'm just closing up this seam, and it can be tricky because the curves change direction, so you have to kind of focus. You have to focus, Kevin. Really, how many times have I told you? You gotta focus. Otherwise, you know what you get? You get a sloppy puppet. Opening for Skinny Puppy. There we go. The chill beats. I'm feeling extremely chill. I don't think I've ever felt this chill. No, really, I'm a little chilly. Actually, I'm not. It's quite warm today. I'm glad I got the fan going. It's unseasonably hot in Toronto. I am not a appreciator of hot weather. I like a bit of a chill in the air. Keeps me focused. So I'm not super crazy about this, but it won't last. Nothing ever does. In Virginia, you say? Really? As I mentioned probably a lot, if you're familiar with my channel, you'll know that I love New Orleans, and I love going to New Orleans, but I have to be real careful about when I go to New Orleans, because it is so hot and tropical down there that I can only go to New Orleans in the winter, and then it's just comfortable. First time I went, it actually was in November, and another follower. Hi, Wackets. Hello. Thank you. Welcome. Yeah, I went to New Orleans for the first time in November, and it was an unseasonable heat wave. I thought for sure I'm going to be safe going in November for the first time. And it was, they had a heat wave, and it was unbearably hot, but it was still amazing because I love that city so much. Don't get me started on New Orleans. I'll just talk about it all day. All right, anyway, here we go. There is our body all assembled in one piece. Look at that. So the next step is we're going to glue in the mouth plate. So we've got our finished mouth plate, and that's going to go in here. And this is also the thing that's going to give the head shape, right? This is what's going to hold and give the structure to the foam. So let's, I guess, switch back to this camera, maybe. Stuff. Okay, so what we got to do is we got to put some glue around the interior of the mouth here. See there? And we also got to put, so there's a couple of ways we can do this actually. This is a good way to point this out. You can put in the mouth plate just kind of like sitting on the edge, like that, right? Or I can glue it halfway and then roll the foam over top, and that creates like a lip that is quite nice. I have found through experience that this model, this size of puppet, doesn't work super great with the rolled lip because it makes it a little bit too mushy and a little bit too tight. So I'm just going to glue it onto the edge. Now, to put the glue on the mouth plate itself, that's where these lines that we traced earlier, these glue guides come in real handy. We know that the glue only goes around that edge and not anywhere further in. So that's what we're going to do. Get a glue. This is a place where I think I am probably going to do 2 layers because this is very, very structural. There are a lot of stresses. This is where most of the stress of the puppet happens. So you want to make sure that this is going to be nice and solid and not going to come apart for any reason. So 2 layers is a good idea. So we take a little applicator. Try not to get it too gummed up. This is getting a little... I may have to thin out this glue at some point. But we're just going to paint a little bit around the edges. All of the edges, the whole thing. Even over the tape. And also on the kind of leading edge of the plastic, we want that to be adhesive as well. Welcome to the Puppet Lounge. I'm your host. It's Gus from Marketing. I think you heard it here first, those of you who are familiar with the Always On channel or with the Oracle. I think I may be retiring Gus as a character. I think he's kind of run his whole thing out. He is kind of a one-joke character. As puppeteer, how many of the same puppet do you go through on average? So I don't do large volume. One of the things, I mentioned this earlier, I have a touch of arthritis. So I personally, on things like the Oracle, I haven't gone through any puppets yet. I've had to do minor repairs, but I haven't actually had to rebuild anything. The reason I'm going to be rebuilding Frankie and the Oracle is because I want them, they weren't built by me. So I'm going to do new designs and have them be like original to me. God, Gus is a character that I love to hate. Yeah, well, we'll talk about Gus in a sec. So I haven't actually gone through any puppets totally. I haven't had to do a total rebuild. But I do know that on, like a TV series or something like the Muppets, for example, you go through quite a few. They don't build as many as you might think all at once because it's really tough, even if you're working off the same pattern, because you're working with soft materials, things shift. Even a couple of millimeters makes a big difference. And so it's hard to build 2 of the same puppet identically. So that's why you'll see every now and then, like one of the Muppets will sort of change a little bit and it's not real obvious what's up, but you just know it's a different puppet. That's why, because they wear out. But they also don't change them as often as you might think. There's a lot of repairs that go on sets. I was talking about this earlier, how like a professional puppet for TV or film or the stage is never really finished. It's always in a state of constantly being repaired. And that's another reason why we use contact cement, is because you can take a hair dryer to this and open these seams up again and get inside to do repairs. So yeah, back to Gus. Yes, Gus, I have worked with people like Gus myself. So I think a lot of us in the IT industry have. I don't know. I'm still of 2 minds about Gus. I may not retire him, but if I do keep him, I am going to rebuild him because he was another character that was not built by me originally. So we're going to be doing a new Gus if there is a Gus. So now I'm going to dry this glue and then I'm going to do a second coat. It gets noisy. Also, if you guys are familiar with, it's tough. It's a tough call to keep or ditch Gus. He can be useful, maybe. So maybe we'll keep that as a special project for the stream, the redesign and rebuild of Gus. if you are familiar with the characters from the show from Twitch, if you go onto the YouTube channel, there's a bunch of behind the scenes stuff there. And there's a whole video about how I come up with the voices. So if you're curious about that, again. Okay, so I am going to do a second coat just on the plastic mouth plate, I think. I think there's enough on the foam itself. But around here, I'm going to give us a little bit of insurance. Again, because of the way I build my puppets with sewing the mouth plate, the fabric mouth plate in, that will also hold the structure, so we don't have to worry too much about this coming out, but it's always good to be extra careful. And there we go. The second coat does not have to be very substantial. There we go. All right, now this is, again, one of those things I have to do close to the chest, so you're probably not going to see it on camera very well. Maybe we'll do this. Thank goodness for the Stream Deck. I've been thinking about getting some voice activation stuff for the channel, and then instead of me hitting a button on Stream Deck, I can just ask Frankie to do it. And I can have, like, Frankie sound bites coming in. Yeah, right. I'll do it. Just you keep building your puppets. Relax, kid. Oops. We'll see. This is all a work in progress. All of these camera angles are probably going to change. I'm going to refine it over time. We'll just go as we go. So, here's an interesting point. For your average puppet, let's do this for the moment. When you're working a puppet, the thing that you see as the audience the most is actually the bottom jaw. You see the eyes, the top of the head, and the bottom jaw the most. So if you're gonna mess up, try to make it not be in those places. So I'm going to put in the bottom jaw first, so I can be a little bit more careful with that, because as you lay in more surface to surface, things will start to pull and fight you a little bit. So I'm going to try and keep the bottom jaw the tidier of the two jaws. So I'm going to push it down a little bit so it keeps a nice round shape. And then line up the center line. And just very gently push it in. We're not doing a lot of pressure right now. We're just trying to keep it laying where it should lay. And then we can go through and do the top jaw. There we go. So just like that. So you'll see it's just laying in there. And once it's in place, now the thing is, at the moment, this isn't actually locked in. I can pull this apart and kind of readjust it a little bit before I do what I'm about to do. So I'm happy with the position. So once you've got that, pinch it and lock that glue into place. Give that contact cement some pressure. all around the rim. So there we go. There is our, oops, there we go. The metal plate is in. So, let's see. Now it is, in fact, we have a puppet. A slightly uneven looking puppet, but don't worry, that'll get worked out when we get the skin on it. And the other thing is, I don't try too hard to make them terribly even. A little bit of asymmetry is nice. It feels, particularly for this model, it feels kind of organic and natural. So I don't try and make it too perfect and even. I like a little bit of kind of unevenness. But let me see. Let's go up to the puppet cam here and hi everyone. I'm a new puppet. Yeah. We got our backwards and forwards motion here. Look at that. That's pretty good. So, yeah, the lumpiness, it's good. Lumpy. This is welcome. Hello, Lumpy. Welcome to the channel. So there we go. There is our completed internals for Smol. So the next step after this is to make the skin. There is, what's this? New follower, Crazy Man 2000. You joined just in time for the stream to end. Thank you. Go back and watch the VOD. It was a lot of fun. So after this, we got to make the skin. Now, making the skin for these is a lot of hand sewing. I do hand sew. I will machine sew some stuff. In fact, the arms on this are machine sewn. But I like to hand sew the skin, and as you can see on the today's build pick, there's just two big long seams that go up the entire length and down the entire length of the body. They're quite long and take a while to sew, but they're better hand sewing because when you hand sew nylon fleece, you can hide the seam a bit better. You can blend it a little bit better. And a machine sewn stitch is it's almost impossible to blend the seams. So for these are a bit of a higher end offering on the store. So I like to put in the time to hand sew this stuff. So that's what the majority of the next stream, if I decide to stream it like that, that's what it's going to be. It might be tomorrow. I don't know. Maybe. Now that you all have joined up, you'll get notifications. I think probably we'll do that. It's nice to just hang out. And the whole point of the stream is for me to just do what I always do, but stream it. So maybe we will just do that. We'll see if the hand sewing is super dull, if maybe people want to tune out, or hang on, just hang out, chill beats. So there we go. Our puppet is well on the way. Thank you so much, everybody. This was amazing. I didn't even expect this. This was so good. Lots of new followers, lots of viewers. We'll build more puppets. So thank you, everybody, and we'll catch you next time. Follow and we'll get the notification, and I'll let you know. Follow me on social media. Thank you, Deck, sorry. I can talk. I got lots of stuff. We can talk. So you want to know anything, feel free to ask questions. And we'll keep going. This was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this. But I'm also hungry, so I'm going to go have some lunch. So thank you so much, everybody, and we'll catch you next time.